You're ahead of your skis here. Stay in your lane and put that fucking candy away.
We weren't even online. Don't start bitching at me, okay? Just because you're having a bad day.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Boom! And welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by Dirty Duck Coffee. If your coffee sucks, it's not the duck. I'm Jeff Stanfield with the world famous Andy Shaver. And did you lose him?
I don't know what happened. It says Mike is muted. I hate this fucking thing.
You can see Kyle right over there.
I think something got muted. I don't know if it's mine or his.
Kyle, can you hear us? We're having technical difficulty here, folks. Today
How about that? Did that work? Probably not.
He's not talking. Can you hear me, Kyle?
I hate my life. I hate my life.
Walked into the bear cage today when I came into the podcast studio.
What the hell? Well, ain't this a kick in the head? What happened? I hate life. Oh, that switched.
That was it.
I wonder why that switched.
Can you hear us now?
Yeah, he can hear us now, but I don't know why that switched.
Yeah, I got you.
With us today online, in this discombobulated mess at studio, Mr. Kyle Jones. Kyle, where do you live at now?
I live in Michigan now. It's mid-Michigan, just west of Lansing. Little town called Grand Ledge. So I know you take a trip up here, I think, to the Boss headquarters in St. Joe. So I'm like 2.5 hours away from there.
I've been all over the great state of Michigan in the last 5 years. It was one of the last states that I went to, and it's one of my favorite states to go to. I love it. If I had a lot of money, I would own a home. I don't know if I'd want to live on Mackinac Island because I'd want to get in the car and drive down to the store if I needed something, but I would live somewhere up in that area. That is a beautiful part of the world.
It's pretty. I was gonna ask, that was one of my questions. I was gonna ask you where you were going this year because you seem to go on a trip every summer. But it is incredible up north, man. You get Caribbean blue water that's just crystal clear, as deep as you can honestly see, and then mild climate. I mean, the hot up there is like 85 degrees.
Yeah, It's beautiful. That and 1,000 Islands in New York are two of my favorite places in the country. And I don't know, we were coming to Michigan, and then the guy next to me that's having the bad day with all the equipment put an X-nay on it and said no. He told his wife he does not want to go on a trip this summer anywhere.
Well, let me tell you. No, hold on. I'm getting painted as a villain here.
Why are you villain? Right. You don't want to go on a trip.
May I finish?
Yes, go ahead.
So we were supposed to go to Mexico next week. That is all blowing up around us. And we were also supposed to go to Mexico again in April with the children. Don't know what we're going to do there.
We're not going to go.
And then, probably not with the kids. And then we always take a trip with my wife's side of the family. That's in May. So when you break it down, that's 3 months of travel right there. And then June is basically the only month that I have as a summer with the kids because July starts show season. So I'm reclaiming my time.
So anyways, me and Michelle will go somewhere in June, and we've got a couple couples that we travel and do stuff with. And so I think we'll probably go to the 1,000 Islands in New York with them since we don't get to take our grandkids nowhere.
You get to take them in April. So enjoy that time.
I enjoy all the times. I'm actually going to save a shitload of money.
Instead of trying to make me feel bad.
I'm not trying to make you feel bad.
That's exactly what you're doing.
You didn't want to go. You're cheating your grandkids out of another adventure with grandpa and grandma who are old. This might be the last time you ever get to go on a vacation with them.
Well, you know what? You live 7 blocks away from them. Do something there. How about that? So you live half a town away of 900 people. I think you'll see him plenty.
I got to take him to listen to this, Kyle. We had basketball this weekend with both Reese and Dylan, and Jameson got his head split open a couple weeks ago, so he's out of sports for till baseball starts. So we go to eat, and Andy only lets us eat with 10 minutes, and they get up and leave only 10 minutes into the lunch.
Yeah, we had to go to another basketball game. Hey, how long were you in Colorado for, Kyle?
I was there for a little over, I think 9 days, 10 days, something like that.
And y'all
Short
shot
time frame.
You shot a
Short
unicorn?
time frame. We did not. We saw one just about every day, but it was always at like 90 yards away and fearful for their life because they were just smart geese. So they were pricks and dickheads. I mean, you guys know the drill.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we saw a lot of cool geese, just never anything within like actual gunning distance. I got to hunt with one of your boys, Nolan. He was cool.
Nolan shot that goose.
Nolan shot the one last week?
Yeah.
Or like, wow, that's cool. I saw it a tailgate, like a tailgate photo of it. I didn't know he shot it. That's pretty sweet.
Okay, so hold on. Let me backtrack because I don't know. Hunt? I think he was on the hunt. I don't know if he shot it.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, what was it though?
There's multiple that are there. And it looks like a lesser Canada snow cross. So you got, mainly lesser Canada features with a white head, black beak. That's what I was consistently seeing and trying to kill. But there's also a couple other ones in there that are, I think, a spec lesser cross. But mainly the snow lesser crosses were running around up there.
So did you see him the night before, like when y'all were scouting, or you just saw him in the morning when you were hunting back in the pack?
Like that day, like we're sitting there, Forrest and I were calling geese, and all of a sudden, like, oh, there's something different, right? Like that's not a lesser, it's not a snow either. So there's white-headed goose right there, right? Yeah. So that was we knew that there was something flying around because Colton, that was basically scouting or anything like that. He's like, hey, just heads up, there's a hybrid flying around the area. So it's something to keep an eye out for. I mean, you look at snows and specks on a consistent basis, when something's different, right? So it's just like, oh, that's cool. That's a different goose. And then all of a sudden, they're trying like hell to get them all in there to shoot that one. So
it's crazy like how good your eyes get like whenever you've done it enough. Like last year, and I'm probably gonna catch shit for telling this story a little bit because anyway, we were hunting it was like a flooded field, and ducks were coming in early in the morning, and a duck came in single. But it was flying weird. Like I could tell it was a duck. So for all you guys like, oh, you shouldn't shoot unless you know what it is. Well, it was a fucking wood duck. And that was the first one I've ever killed out here. Like I've never killed a wood duck before. That was number one.
I think we've killed 2 in 35 years as a company.
But it's like I knew it was duck, but like whenever it fell, I was like, well, that seemed weird. Like it didn't look like a teal. It wasn't big enough to be like a big duck. And I was like, maybe it was like a widgeon or something like that. And the dog brought it back. It was a wood duck. But I can just hear the guys now, you shouldn't shoot unless you can identify it. Well,
it was a duck.
Well, it's a duck. I can tell it's a duck.
Yeah. Yeah. The wing beats, the body, everything like that. It's just, it's gotten a little bit a different erratic wing beat or flight path, right? Like it's just, it'd be like shooting a ringneck, right? Versus a mallard. Right. That's the exact difference there.
But this sounds cocky coming for it, but you guys sit in the field every day. You see thousands and thousands and thousands of geese, and you get clients through here, and they hunt 3 times a year, and they're experts on stuff. And I'll be like, "Well, I think the guy should have done this." I said, "Trust me, the guides are trying to kill birds more than you could even imagine. That's their job." And I said, they see things different. They hunt every day. I mean, Andy is in the field 6 to 7 days a week. Every week all year long, and has been for 30 years. And the guides like Nolan's a young guy, because I hear guys all the time, that young guy right there is a hell of a hunter, and he hunts every day, and he hunts before he gets here for 2 months, and he'll hunt again when he leaves here for 2 months.
Multiple states.
He hunts 6-7 months a year all the time.
He
knows
got
what he's doing.
Home at 2 in the morning or something like that, and then the next morning he's meeting us up at the gas station, right? Like hunting with us. Like he's got. I remember we were sitting there, and I felt bad because he answered the phone, and immediately, of course, you start to see geese, and I'm start ripping on a goose call, and then I hear him talking, and I think it was Tony. You guys were doing like an end of season inventory, and he's like, "Yeah, the bags are," he was telling him where decoy bags were or something like that, and it was just like, he left hunting with you guys to go and hunt up there with us. He's hunting today, probably more than likely.
That young man, I have as much respect for him as anyone that's ever worked here. When he first came in, he looks like a skater. He had these baggy like snowboarding pants on and stuff, and I thought, "Oh, Jesus Christ!"
Yeah.
And then then we scouted, and he put his input in like the day one, and I thought,
"Settle down.
You don't need to be putting input in. You're going to learn how we do things and stuff." Within 3 weeks, I'm like asking him questions because I could tell he knew what he was doing, and he is very gifted when it comes to hunting, and he's a really good person. I really think the world of Nolan. I love him to death, but he is so. He got so much of my attention real quick because most times guys come in and they start talking and you're like, "Listen, kid, you're in high school last year. You haven't got as much experience." And then when you deal with him and then he's a fishing guide. Yeah. I respect him and I appreciate him so much. And my biggest respect I have for him is he is doing what he wants to do for a living. He is beating life and enjoying what he's doing, and good for him on that.
Yep. Absolutely.
In Oklahoma one year, we had a group of Westers come in, and kind of like you, like we had them come in close, and like I could tell one was different, and then they got shot, but it had quill lake. I'm not gonna say it's a quill lake, but it had quill lake features. Mm-hmm. It had the white wing on the front, on the like the big primary flight feathers. Had the white bar across the chest, and you could just tell like whenever it came in, like it caught your attention.
Yeah. Yep. So I think Forrest a few years ago we were hunting with Rustin, and we were hunting north, so we were hunting in Oklahoma too. And we're sitting there, we got 10 guys laying in socks. We're sitting there calling. I'm trying to video. Forrest is trying to take photos. This is back when we were doing the dive bomb thing, and we had a gun with us, but we knew like most of the time we're not shooting. Rustin, he doesn't care if we shoot or not. Like, He wants us to, right? Like, the photos, videos, like, he's got full-time camera guy on staff, right? He don't care about photos. Mm-hmm. So we're sitting there. Forrest has got a gun sitting next to him, and he's taking photos. And, I'm videoing. Shot gets called. I see Forrest pop up one time. Boom. Put his gun back down, and he hops up and goes, "I shot the white-winged goose." And I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" And he's like, he flips his camera around and shows me all like the whole sequence. Like there's 150 lessers coming in, and he's got this one single goose picked out, and he's taking photos of it the entire way down. It was the coolest, like just kind of one of those things, like you just notice it right from the get-go, and you especially him in his case. I mean, he ran around by you guys for years and years and years. You see so many geese. You just find something different. Yeah. And that's what he did, and he popped up and shot it. So it was just a pretty cool story.
Well, and it's that way too with specs for us, because every spec looks a little bit different, Like, I mean, most of the chickens are going to, they're going to look the same just because it's like a slick belly. But like whenever you start dealing with those mature birds, like the patterns are so different. They vary so wildly on all these geese. So like you get good at like picking out like oddballs.
Oh yeah,
in the that are coming
in. That one's got a black, just completely black belly, right? Like, or he's got cool, he's got some 3 main bars, right? Something along those lines. Like it's pretty cool to pick those ones out.
Yeah. We did a fun hunt we had Snowmageddon that last weekend, and then we just did a couple fun hunts with the guides during the week, and that was fun. Just picking out like what spec you wanted. Like, because later in January, it seemed like they were mostly mature birds coming in. They've been pricks all season long. And then I guess that cold weather and snow like made them aggressive feeders and everything. So getting able to pick through adults was pretty cool. I don't get to do that very often. So I enjoyed running the gun.
Didn't somebody get stuck in a truck?
A lot of people did.
Jeff didn't.
So I got well, okay, so that morning, we set everything up, and Nolan, we get done setting everything up. Nolan's like, well, we have a problem. Like, well, what's that? My key fob is at the lodge, but his truck ran. Like, he went inside. I don't know how he ended up throwing the key fob on the table, but the truck ran all the way to the field. Never gave an alert. Key fob's not in the truck or whatever. So thank God he didn't kill the truck in the middle of the decoy spread, because that would have sucked.
Yeah.
So we get parked, and anyway, Hunt's over. I bring him back to the lodge at 45 miles an hour. Go back to the spread, and I drive down the road that we've been driving on all, we've drove in it that morning, drove out it to go to the lodge, and for whatever reason, I got out of the track somehow and just sunk my truck in the ditch. So we're 200 yards from the spread, so we walk to the spread. Nolan walks to his truck.
You got stuck twice?
Yeah, on the same day. Pick everything up. We get everything. Nolan pulls me out. Jackknifes his trailer a little bit. Dings his truck up a little bit. And then that night, I get a call about 5 o'clock from Happy, an Iowa native who drives in this stuff and
made fun of us for not being able to drive in it.
Makes fun of us for not being able to drive in it. And he says, "Hey, I'm stuck on this." Tells me the road. So I round up straps and all that other stuff, and I go in from the west because he's right off the highway, and go in there, and like 50 yards can't get to him. Snow's too high. So I ask him, I'm like, "Can I get around you? Can I go the other way and come in from behind you and pull you out that way?" Tip number one, if you're going to pull somebody out and they look back there and they hesitate and like, "Yeah, I think so," that's a no. I think so is a no. But me being a good friend, I go around and I high center my truck. So the next day we got to dig out 2 trucks.
Ugh.
So I got stuck twice that day, and I hadn't been stuck in a while, and I was pissed. It just sucks.
Yeah.
Nobody can get to you.
My anxiety. I never get nervous when like going to put decoys out or how the hunt may go, whatever. But like you start to get a little moisture on the ground.
Yeah.
That's when like I'm like white knuckling, right? Especially down there. You get any sort of moisture on those roads, and it's like good luck, right? Like you're sliding, slipping all over the place.
There's places you can drive here, and there's places you can't.
That are no-goes.
And that's why I get really embarrassed if I get stuck out here, because not count snow, because snow don't count, because that's different for a drift. But like in the mud and stuff, if I got stuck in the mud out here, I'm going to be fucking embarrassed, because I know better than what roads to go down. There's some roads I can have 3-5 inches of rain and I can get down no problem. It's got a real sandy bottom. It gets hard. And there's places up north in the wheat country where we hunt at. If you get a 1/10 of an inch of rain, you're in trouble sometimes. So you got to pay attention to where you are. But you're exactly right. Our area is so different. Oklahoma was worse than here, because it's all those clay roads, those cleachy roads. And you'll get, you get a 1/4 of an inch of rain and things change real fast. Mm-hmm. Snow is such a different deal, because that snowfall, we had a hard north wind. When we get snow, we get a big north wind with it always. And what happens is it blows off the fields and fills in the county roads because they're lower.
Yeah.
And the kid from Iowa should know better.
And Andy should have known better.
We just, I mean, down there, again, is different. But any sort of snow on like a crust, then you start adding, like Nolan, he drives big 2500.
Yeah.
So it's, you get the big heavy trucks that are going through that crust. It's not fun. It is. You just immediately know, you're like, all right, this ain't good.
Yeah.
This is not good.
What sucked about this last snowstorm was we had rain for the full day before that. So, and then that froze. So that created like an ice rink on the roads, and then it snowed, so you would break through that crust of snow and it was just ice underneath. Mm-hmm. But it sucked because the counties were trying to like break off this or push off the snow with the snow trucks, but they couldn't break through that ice. So really the roads that people didn't mess with, that had that little bit of crust, that snow on the top of it, were better, because the roads that they were clearing off, they were just clearing it down to the black ice. And that was when shit got real tricky.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're just not set up for it down here.
I mean, we had mid-January, early to mid-January is when we had our really, really good cold spell. And it was to a point where, I mean, it gets to salt, all that stuff, it's not even working because
Yeah.
it's too cold, right? I mean, it took me a couple weeks ago, it took me 4.5 hours to drive um, just because, like, even the interstates, it's negative 10 degrees outside, and there's just no way to keep those roads clear, right? Like, I'd rather have 30 degrees and dumping snow
Right.
because then I got a little bit of traction versus too cold with a little bit of ice, right? And then there's nothing, there's nothing that works.
No. So overall, how was your season? Because
Uh,
everything here was pretty inconsistent early in the year for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. The September was solid. It was different because September we had a really big cold front come in early, like last day of August,
Yeah.
last couple days of August, really nice cool north winds. And that, I want to say, pushed a lot of geese into where I'm at. So that was interesting in itself because we never typically have. I mean, we had a field we hunted 4 times and there was 400 geese in it that were going, and that never, that I can prompt, like, that never happens for us that early in September. Like, if the first week of September we're hunting like 40 geese,
Right.
or 60 geese, the local residents. And that was something different for us. We mainly shot geese. Ducks sucked.
Mhm.
Duck season absolutely sucked. It was abysmal up until um, we have a 2-day split at the end of December. That's when we shot a good amount of ducks for us, and that's typical. I mean, we typically have them come in those last couple days, um, but it was so dry for the majority of the year. Like, we didn't have any moisture throughout the end of September, early October. And so we walked into places that we typically could go in and shoot a couple mallards and a couple wood ducks opening day of duck season, and it's dry, like bone dry. And now, that's pretty abnormal for us. I know down in the southern half of the United States, that's pretty normal, to have it pretty dry, but man, it sucked. Didn't shoot hardly any wood ducks. It's pretty cool. Well, not pretty cool, but it's different versus, like, you guys shot your second wood duck in 35 years. I mean,
Yeah.
here we just like, it's kind of like annoying that with the amount of wood ducks that we've got. It's because they're just, they decoy to a spinner or they're not doing it at all, right? And we shoot them pretty good in the dry fields, but even this year it was just, we had crop come off early, so there's an abundance of food. But even then, it was like we could go shoot our geese, but we wanted to all shoot ducks. Like, my buddies and I, we were like, geese are fun, but let's go shoot ducks, and we just couldn't do it. So we had a couple good hunts in January. I traveled a little bit. Forrest and I got together, and we had a really, really great couple days duck hunting, and then the goose hunting stuff was fun. But it wasn't great by any means, man.
We just come back from Turkey, and I talked to a lot of guys. That Turkey show is almost a waterfowl show too, and I talked to people from all over would come and visit with us. The only people that I know that really had a good season were the guys that were duck hunting, like Roy Carter and them in Southeast Kansas had a really good year, and the guys that around Vandemore and them had a really good year. But most everyone else told me they had a spotty year. There's some people had good hunts. Hell, we had some really great hunts. But overall, everybody I know said they had a really rough season this year.
That last 3 weeks of the season is really what everyone was living and dying by, right?
Yes.
Like, that's what everyone was hoping for. Everyone, West Tennessee, Southeast Missouri, Northeast Arkansas, West Kentucky, like, they were doing, it was piss poor up until that cold front. And then, then it started. I mean, but the problem was there is that it all locked up so quick that it really condensed a lot of birds or even pushed birds out. So there's only a few places that were shooting really well. But that last 3 weeks of the season had to have been the best shooting a lot of other places have had that they've been hoping for the entire season, right?
That's how it was here. Like November and December were just abysmal.
And had birds.
That was that was the problem. Is like you'd see a ton of birds, but you couldn't pattern them. Like we'd scout, things would look good for the next day, and then to me personally, I think that the worst group of specs that you can call at is like that flock size of like 8 to 20. I just don't think they work very well. I'd rather have it be like a pair or a single or 3 or 4, and that's about it. Or I'd rather have 500 of them. Because whenever you get that many of them, I think that they start competing against each other, and I think they start trying to race each other to the ground, kind of like snow geese do.
Right.
But for 2 months out of the year, it was just that flock size that you can't do anything with, like that 8 to 20 birds. And a lot of times, like they wouldn't even spin you. Like they would just get up and they'd be like, nope, we're going over here today. We're good. Yeah. And we kind of have a rule here that what you see on the morning scout is the tiebreaker. So if they were in this field in the morning, that field in the afternoon, you just kind of go where they were in the morning. And even that rule was kind of out the window this year.
Yeah.
You'd go where they were the morning before. And
we didn't have a lot of weathery days. Like I noticed that about the 1st of January, I was like, started looking back, and I think every day we just flat wear the birds out as a group, not just one group, but everybody shoots like just lights out. It's on days we've had clouds and some wind. And we didn't have very many of them days at all this year. I mean, it was clear skies. It was flat weather. The temperatures would get colder, 2 degrees a week, so by the middle of December, it's 54 degrees for a high a lot of days. And then you'd have a cold front and it'd be 48 degrees. We never got a cold front, and it was clear skies and no clouds forever. Then when you get a day that you actually did have because we'd get up to 80, 85 degrees some days, then you'd get down for a cold front and it'd be 55 then, which is the normal high even, not even a cold day. But the weather changed, the birds would work good again. But we just didn't have very many of them this year. And when I was there and I was talking to people from everywhere, it was that way. And I talked to some guys that kill a whole lot of birds in Kansas that I'm friends with, and they were like, we had a tough year. He said, we were driving 100 miles and we'd get on the birds, but he said we had a lot of days that were just tough days this year, more than usual. Yeah. Been a weird year.
I think, and you guys will agree with this. I think it's most aggravating when you know what the outcome of the hunt can be.
Yeah.
If you had a breath of wind.
Yes.
Right. Like it's so like obviously there's only so many controllable variables, but like it is so aggravating. Gosh damn, dude. Like we're at 15 geese. They've done it okay, but man, we would be at 35 and they would all be feet down in the decoys instead of shooting them belly up. It's just so aggravating what those conditions can bring too.
Yeah, and like part of me is like I've been doing it for so long, and like the same excuse is the same excuse because it's the truth. But at some point, you're like, do the clients even believe me anymore? Like, you know what I mean? Like, because to the average guy that hunts 3 days a year, he's like, how big of a factor can wind be? And then like if you have them one day where there is no wind, and then you hunt them the next day where there is wind, and the birds do it like like you're saying, like feet down, and that's when, and I've had that happen a couple times this year. Guys are like, we kind of thought you were full of shit about the wind, but today we've got it, and like it is night and day difference. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm telling you.
Yeah, guys that don't hunt a lot. We hunt a lot of people that are podcast listeners that don't really waterfowl hunt a lot. They just listen to podcasts and they get a group of guys.
Yeah.
And when you tell them that, well, we got to have some wind tomorrow, they're like, huh? I said, wind makes a big difference. They do not understand. Mm-hmm. Like Andy said, we had a group that was here from way off, and they were not big waterfowl hunters. They did a 3-day hunt. And the first 2 days we had no wind at all, and they had decent hunts, nothing great at all. And I told them, I said, we're supposed to have wind tomorrow. And then they, like Andy said, that guy come in and he goes, well, we definitely saw the wind difference. I said, yeah, it's night and day difference.
It's that 15 yard, it's that 20 yards that you need most of the time, 15 to 20
Absolutely.
yards. That's the difference in a bird, flying around you at 40 and a bird decoying right at 15.
Yeah,
like it's that 20-yard buffer that you need a lot of times to call the shot.
Or the one you get the one that sucks in, no problem.
Yep.
Because it's probably a chicken, right? Like it's a juvie speck or something like that. Like that's just like dumps right in. But then it's like, oh, the 4 to 5 are just sitting there at 40, 40 yards, 45 yards that are just like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Like, why couldn't you do what those ones did?
Follow them in. And it got to where I was like, I'm not letting anything out. I don't care what's behind it. I got burned so many times this year. I'd have, and specs are notorious for this. Like, they're almost like ducks where, you know, like you'll have one or two just dump in and then, you know, you're waiting for that big spin. And there were so many times this year that I'd look back and I'm like, okay, big spins at 50, one more spin and we got them. And then it's like, okay, big spins at 55. Let's work this a little bit. And then the two leave and they fly off and then they take the big group with them and you're like, motherfucker.
Yep.
So I'd look over to the guides and I was like, never again am I doing that. And then about 30 minutes later, we'd have that exact same scenario and I would play it exactly like I did before. And the two would leave and it's like, well, shit.
I thought you said never again.
I thought you said never again. Yeah, but that looked way better than the time before. They were at 40 yards and I thought we were going to get them. Yeah. But I don't know. I'm not greedy. I guess I am greedy, but you know, these guys are out here for a show. And if I can have 50 birds lighting in the decoy spread, then that's what I'm going to go for.
Yeah. I think there's always that fine, you know, in your position, there's that fine line of what you're trying to provide. Yeah. Right. Like the experience. Right. And that's really ultimately like people are paying you to take them to show them an experience. And if you can provide that, you that you want to be able to provide that. Right. Like there's a couple days, Forrest and I mean, I'm not going to be, I'll be cut and dry. We got our dicks kicked for a week straight. I'm like, we had one day that we got really good. And the other days we did okay. But like, I'm talking these geese are coming to the field, not coming to the field. We were hunting traffic, but they would fly over the field. They'd split the field. The flock would split, right? Like the Red Sea, go around the spread and connect back, like get back together on the other side of the field. So it's ultimate middle finger. Right. It didn't matter if we had Dave Smith. It didn't matter if we had dive bombs. It didn't matter if we had, but it was just like, dude, like there were times where we had like a goose landing in the pit on top of the pit, but we're like, dude, like I can do there's 20 more behind them. Yeah. Right. That are right at 50-55 yards that need 15 more. Right. And we can call it. Right. But then they just spin out and we're like, well, now we look like the biggest assholes ever.
Yeah. But I mean, you know what it could be. And right. I don't know. I'm confident in my ability to call a specklebelly goose at this point, and I'm just like, I think I can do it this time. I think I've got it figured out. But we would try everything, man. We would do the silent treatment. We would like rip on it. We would rip on Canada calls, and like you said, just kind of that parting of the Red Sea. At one point, I was like, are they counting birds that have come off the roost? And they know, like, oh yeah, there's no way that many birds have come off yet. Those are decoys. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like, how the hell do you know? And like you said, you know, running full bodies or whatever. It's like, you know, Dave Smith. It's like, how do they know this is a decoy already? Right. From that far away.
So Jeff Caldwell and I, we sat up like one night, and we can get really deep in the weeds here. Or we can get off this topic after I talk about it. But it's crazy because there's a big interstate that runs right through Denver, and the Front Range of Colorado is some of the most pressured geese around, right? Yeah. But it's crazy how you can drive by a field at 70 miles per hour at 150 yards, 200 yards out, and you know exactly what decoys are running.
Oh, right, yeah.
You know, and it's like, man, like they got it. Like at this point in the game, you got to think they know, right? Or like it's lingering in the back of your head, right? Like it's one of those, again, no-win days make you second-guess everything. Right. So you get a no-win day, and you're sitting there like, shit, they know these are decoys, right? Like, yeah. Like,
and like I was even to the point this year, like trying to figure out how to get like 25 stuffers or something. But then that's a pain in the dick because you got to haul those around. You got to baby them. But I'm like, I don't even know if stuffers would work right now. There was one day I was hunting. It was an afternoon. It was the last week of season. We had a group of guys here. They book the whole lodge for like 4 or 5 days, and they hunt all day. Like they'll pheasant hunt in the morning. They'll do something right after lunch, and then we goose hunt in the afternoon with them. And then we'll kind of, you know, just tinker with their schedule a little bit. But anyway, I was hunting in the afternoon. Hunting the field that the birds were in that morning. I went and scouted that morning, got set up perfect, right where they were that morning. Literally, like we hunted, we set up our A-frames on a pivot head. You walk out 2 steps from the blind, and there's goose tracks and goose shit. So like we were right where they were.
Yeah.
And anyway, that afternoon they're flying past us and can't get anything to break down. But I look over my shoulder, and the amount of dirt that these birds were kicking up was insane in this peanut field. So I'm like, is it like, do they just see the dirt? Like, is that something? Like, I can't replicate that. Like, if they're looking for stirred up dirt, like, we're just fucked. Like, there's nothing I can do about that. But I'm
Get a fan.
Yeah, it's just those little things. Like, it doesn't matter how good your decoys are. Like, I can't stir up that much dirt. And like, there was also like this weird like growl that I heard from that flock of a couple thousand geese. I'm like, I can't replicate that. Like, it's just too much. So I don't know, but it's just those little things like shit. And it doesn't help too. Like, it's a fucking hornet's nest over there. Like, the birds are landing, and you got these, how specks are. They look like ducks in a field. Right. They get up, they fly around. Like, there's so much movement over there. Like, there's nothing I can do. Like, I got this little pole flag, but that's not going to do anything.
Right. Unless you had, some way to kick up that feed, but then even then, that puts however many thousands of birds in the air, right? And then it's follow the leader at that point too, right? Like, you can go bump. If it were in your field, that would be, but if it's, across the road, quarter mile down the road, and you can see it and hear it, like, then all you're doing is probably just shooting yourself in the foot even more.
Yeah, and you might push them further away.
You want to hear some really a couple of things that I've noticed, and this is just on me, so this is nothing scientific by any means. This is a stupid, bald, fat, old Italian guy in West Texas. I've noticed the snow geese decoy better up here than they used to by a long way. I mean, the snow geese are starting to work, and I think a lot of that has to do is back in the day, in the 70s and 80s, they did a lot of pass shooting down in South Texas. Those birds don't get pass shot like they used to anymore, and I think that those birds are becoming more decoyable again. I think the specklebellies are getting harder to hunt because and I've seen 2 videos this weekend of guys on the conservation hunts, and they got all these specks mixed in with them snow geese. Those specklebellies get a lot more pressure on them for 3 more months a year than they used to. Our birds here, we got a lot of geese here still. We got fields now. Birds are setting their wings off a mile away, and they got their wings set and cup coming from a mile.
The season's been closed a month.
That's right. And there's no pressure on these birds here, but they're going to go somewhere else where there's going to be a lot of pressure on them again. I think the conservation season hurts the rest of the birds. I think Pat Pitt was right about that. I think the snow geese are getting to be more like they used to be 50 years ago because they're not getting pass shot all the time.
But why are the specks getting harder to hunt, but the snows are getting easier to hunt? It's this conservation order should be the same.
You're right on that. But the snow geese that get shot, they get shot in decoys. Back before, they used to get shot at every hedgerow and everywhere. I mean, guys in South Texas would stick up 1,000 decoys, then hunt 100 yards away from them on a hedgerow, just trying to get them to fly over the top.
But I don't understand how the conservation season is making snow geese easier to decoy because you're decoying birds, but it's making the specks harder to decoy.
Why do you screw up every one of my deals with something logical?
I just want you to think about it.
That's a logical thing, but it's just something I've noticed.
So before y'all, start going back and forth with that, I do think that we are starting to get more and more snows in areas that we typically don't have a whole, like you're starting to probably see quite a bit more, right? And that is, is it population based or is it pressure based, right? It could probably a mixture of both at this point because they still have the conservation season that's going. But there's a lot of areas, especially you get out west, like Pacific Flyway. Yeah. There's a lot of geese getting pushed around because of the snows, and I think that you're getting more snows that are fresher to the area, maybe not getting shot at as much, right? Like what you were saying at. So I think it's a combination of pressure, but population too, right?
I mean, we had we shot a limit of snows a couple of days. I mean, we've never done that before, in which our limit is 5. But I mean, we actually killed a lot of snow geese in January this year, more than we've ever killed. And they work better. They were decoying in. I mean, and that's something you used to not see. And that's just two things. Andy gave me a logical debate on that, and I hadn't really thought about that. But that makes what your question was really good. But it's just, I think the specs have a lot more pressure on them than they used to.
Now, I will agree with that, because you look at like September and October, and you see Canada photos, and it's all specklebellies now.
Right. When I was working in Alberta, I mean, I was in Grand Prairie, like as far north, some of the most northernmost spots of Canada, right? And I'm like passing up fields of honkers and lesters because I want to go hunt the specks, right? Because like, hey, it's the callability of them first and foremost, and then the taste, right? Like I would prefer that, but yeah, you get all the way down, through Alberta and east or western Saskatchewan, like they're pounding specs. But then you get into Arkansas, I think, what is it, middle of October, the last weekend of October, they have that early spec season,
right?
So you're already starting, guys in Arkansas of all places, they're starting to shoot at specs, right? So it's almost like early honkers in Minnesota, right? You're shooting them from September until January, essentially. So that, you're going to have smart birds. You're just applying more pressure and everything like that.
Like when I was a kid, like when I was in my teenage years, and you'd hear somebody come back from Canada, they hunted in Canada, like you never heard of them. At least I never did. Maybe I wasn't paying attention, but it just seems like 15, 20 years ago, nobody was talking about putting up like this stellar specklebelly hunt in Canada. Like it was all honkers is what I remember, honkers and ducks. And now, I mean, you look at Ben Commodore's page, and like he just wrecks the specs in September and October.
Yeah.
So
I think guys are also, if there's a lot of other factors here too. Minnesota, another great example of why there's pressured geese. Well, who started the best goose calling instructional out there, right? Was Scott Trinan. So Scott introduces this goose calling instructional and builds this home base of molt gear, staff guys and everything like that, and believers. So then every single goose hunter in the area, their level of intensity and education just rose tremendously. Well, now that's happened with spec calling and hunting specs and everything like that. So, you got plenty of guys now that are much more proficient on a spec call, and the decoy and the art of spec hunting. I think that puts a lot of factors out there too. Back 10, 15 years ago, I didn't know anybody that was proficient on a spec call that was more than a hee hoo hoo, hee hee hoo hoo, right? Yeah. Now, like, I can name off 35 dudes that are pretty damn good that could probably, if they competed in the world spec calling contest, they're going to be top 15, right? Like that's just the way of the world, I think now. I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. I was thinking that same thing too. Like a long time ago, I didn't have a specklebelly call on my lanyard. Like even when we started killing a bunch of specs, I was just killing them with a Canada call. And you're right, like the number of guys that could like blow your socks away on a specklebelly call, you could count on one hand. And now, I mean, everybody can seem to run it.
There's 5 guys just in the Sacramento Valley of California that I know are like literally like top 5 in the world, and there's a couple more in Louisiana and some in Tennessee and Kentucky. I mean, there's and that's not even including some of the guys that hunt, right by you guys or right there and go up into Colorado. Like there's a ton more proficient callers now, especially you get on TikTok and you can learn how to blow a spec call pretty proficiently. On 3 videos on TikTok now, guys are going out there and every single spec. That might be why you're having the issues with the 8 to 20 geese, because now they've been called that a couple times and called at them, pretty well, and it's an ever changing game.
Well, you know, when I started to focus on my spec calling more was after the hunt with you and Forrest, because I heard the way you guys sounded and I was like, oh shit, like there's another level that I need to get to quickly. And that was when like I started like experimenting more, because I mean, up until that point, like, I was good. I mean, I was okay.
Yeah.
But then I heard you guys, and I was like, oh shit! Like, there's way more to this than where I'm at now. So I got to work, and now you know, I mean, it's paid off. That's why I like hunting with different people.
Right, and that's like if you were to ask like what waterfowl you enjoy pursuing most, honestly, I couldn't have said this 5 to 10 years ago, but I will say it now, is like specs are incredibly fun to hunt. Maybe not the ones down by you guys, because they're pricks, but but you know, you talk about a vocal, it's almost like turkeys, right? Like you have a ton of capabilities with vocalizations and callability with them that is just incredibly unique. And I think it, again, you know, we're experienced guys, right? We're going for the hunt experience. I think with a spec and communicating 1-on-1 or 2-on-1, whatever it may be, I think it goes through the roof whenever you can communicate the best you possibly can with them.
Yeah, that's what I try to pick out one spec in the flock to talk to. It's kind of what I try to do. Like, okay, heard him, like let's start up a conversation, and then maybe he'll talk to somebody else in the group. And I don't know if that's how it works, but that's how it works in my head.
Right.
But I got a question. Go ahead.
I mean, that's what, like, whenever so I didn't touch a spec call, didn't pick one up until I moved to West Kentucky and worked for Higdon. Brooke Richard is from Lafayette, Louisiana. So of course, like, that's in their blood, right? Like, so he's teaching me all the spec, you know, communication, reading them and all that stuff. And, you know, that's exactly what he said to do, Andy, is pick one out, communicate with that one bird best you can, right? Like, obviously you add a couple more birds in there, it might be tough, but you get your 2, 3, 4 packs, that's very easy to do. But that's what he said to do anyway.
I've never heard of it. You were right though, like it is almost like turkey hunting, like you're having a one-on-one conversation with that bird. Yeah, it's an interesting way to put it.
Where do you think the ducks are, Kyle? Something's wrong with our ducks. I think we've got a big bunch of ducks that are missing, or our numbers are way off, because I don't know anybody outside of those 2 corridors I talked about earlier that really had a lot of ducks like they normally do. Yeah.
And I mean, I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, Jeff, and I go there every year, and we didn't even see where the ducks were. I think a lot of it, I think a good majority of them were held up north. And not like the flooded corn stuff and all that stuff. Like, I'm talking Alberta still, because I looked at Alberta, Saskatchewan, all of that weather into the second week of January. It never got below freezing. It was always 45 or warmer. And then you talk to, you know, Ben Commodore is a great guy to talk to about that, Andy, and get a gauge on where ducks are. And he's like, dude, we're loaded. Like, I do think there are factors of ducks being there, but I still think that we, like what you said earlier, we are missing a lot of ducks. Yeah. I think that there's a lot less ducks than people kind of have put out there. I don't know the statistics with all the counts and all that stuff, but I do think that there's some missing ducks. And then the game farm mallard deal is dangerous, right? Like, we're starting to incorporate all these bloodlines of, or these genetics of these ducks that are larger. They don't migrate. I mean, I could go to the park right now in my hometown, and I could show you 4 wild ducks and probably 5 or 6 other ducks that are definitely have game farm mallard in there. Cause I mean, you're talking a 2 to 3 pound mallard versus a 4.5 to 5 pound, right? Like, there's just a giant difference in the size. But I think that has a lot to do with it too. I think that especially the Great Lakes. I think I was reading an article where the Great Lakes region, Great Lakes breeding population of ducks is at a high, very, very high risk of the game farm thing. I mean, you go out to Maryland and Delaware and everything like that. That's all they do. South Carolina, and that they raise mallards and release them and shoot them. Right.
But it's not just the mallard. I mean, the widgeon. We had no widgeon. We've got a place north of us that we usually hunt 6 to 8 times a year on, and we just bang the ducks in the field. We didn't have ducks one time on it this year. Not one time, 0. And it was just crazy. And then I talked to Trevor Austin. They hunt in Moses Lake in the Washington area.
Yep.
He told me this was in middle of January. He said, there's still a couple million ducks north of us, they say. I mean, and that's nothing man can do about. That's weather related more than anything.
Right.
But where are the widgeons at? Where are the gadwalls? I mean, there are just so many people that didn't have ducks. And then like Rustin had a really good duck. He had a great duck season this year, 80 miles east of us. A lot of good hunts. It wasn't just shooting mallards, but they had ducks. We have big ranches with ponds all over them. Didn't have any ducks at all this year. I mean, I'm talking about a 40,000 acre ranch with 15 ponds, and we had maybe 30 ducks between 15 ponds most of the times.
Right. Yeah. That is. Yeah, that's a whole nother degree that I don't have of wildlife biology. I agree. There's a red flag that I think multiple red flags that need to be raised about that. But Forrest and I were on a podcast, and he put it. It was probably a month and a half ago, and he put it out there, and it was incredibly well. What how he said it was just great was, a duck is, I mean, yeah, they can migrate because of the weather and to get out of it, but I think at this point they have realized the output of energy, nutrients, everything like that they're going to spend migrating south when they can just sit tight and still gather nutrients but not expend all the others. I think that's what they're figuring out, right? Like it's a date. It sucks because we all duck hunt, we all love duck hunting, but I think that's what we're seeing now.
I'll put our season in a nutshell on ducks for you. Estes was completely full this year, had water all year long. The little Estes had water on it 90% of the year. Goose Hill had water. The Hearn we had some water on it, but we had water in our area. We shot 4 ducks in the field this year. 4. That's it.
Yeah.
We usually kill that much opening weekend. I mean, we always had kill 2 or 3 ducks, and most groups would kill a duck or 2. And some days you'd kill 10 or 20, but like in the Snowmageddon days back in the day, we would you'd shoot a limited ducks with those geese.
Right.
And we had no ducks all season long. And it's just crazy that our widgeon holes up north didn't have no ducks. And everybody I've talked to, most areas, I think Toby and them probably shot a lot of ducks in their area, but there just wasn't no ducks. Southwest Oklahoma didn't have any ducks like normal. Northeast Oklahoma, I've got a lot of friends that hunt all that public area around Tulsa. They didn't have any ducks till the last week of season, which was weather related and pushed them down. But I mean, no ducks at all. And it's just, I think the duck numbers, I talked to Dr. Mike at Turkey a little bit, and we're going to get him on next month probably. And I want to go about the duck numbers, but I don't know the answer or the solution to this. I mean, we need Ducks Unlimited. We need more and more and more places for them to nest. There's no doubt we've taken out a lot of that, and thank God we've got Ducks Unlimited and Delta and what they've done. But we're at a duck crisis, and I think we need to lower the limit to 3 ducks. I think would be my dumb Italian answer for that.
I have heard that. Come across through many conversations, and I'd agree. I think however you round that out, is it 3 of any species, whatever that may be. I think that would alleviate a lot of especially give it 2 to 3 years, right? The habitat loss is huge. But I think that, and it's hard because not everyone's going to go to the prey potholes and trap or anything like that. But the easiest way to make an impact on a turkey population is put out 10 dog proofs, right? That is, I mean, it is night and day difference what 10 dog proofs and catching 70 to 80 raccoons off less than 100 acres can do for a turkey population that you see almost instantaneous. Now, there's a lot of other factors when it comes to waterfowl. Water, all that habitat that they've got is so vitally important. But if there were a conscious effort of guys being a little bit more hardcore about going and trapping, whether it's Ducks Unlimited or Delta going, and they have guys that are contracted out. But I was like, oh, do you guys take volunteers to go and to go trap, prairie pot? You guys got this, project going on. Do you guys have volunteers? And they're like, well, we pay somebody to go do that. I was like, all right. Well, how can you put together like some sort of bounty program through Delta or Ducks Unlimited that's like, okay, you've got these guys going in this particular Devil's Lake, great example, because that's one centrally located area in the prairie pothole region. And it's like, all right, we got this weekend tournament of raccoons or nest raiders, right? Like, how can you do that and get guys involved without essentially paying somebody to go do it, but involving other outdoorsmen, right? Like, there's got to be some way, there's got to be give and take here, because right now, a lot of us are just taking and we're not giving, right? And I think that's the biggest factor too, is I think a lot of guys need to have that approach is, what can I do? I say this multiple times with guys that are turkey hunters. You have to trap and want to kill nest raiders as badly as you want to kill a spring gobbler.
Yeah.
Right. That is so vitally important. Because I mean, heck, man, you get 2 raccoons that go through 3 nests, that's 30 dead turkeys.
Yep.
Right. Like that in a matter of days.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many factors in that.
Yeah, and I'm guilty of that because I love shooting turkeys, but I am a shit trapper. You know what I mean? Like I think for so long it's just been, I don't know, it's just something that you kind of just figure would take care of itself, and then now the predator populations are just nest raiders, not even necessarily predators, but just nest raiders. They're just doing so well right now, and they're killing the turkey population.
Are skunks bad on turkeys too?
Oh yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah. They eat eggs. Possums eat eggs. Raccoons. I mean, crows. If crows find a nest, they'll go eat eggs. Coyotes. I'm a little mixed on coyotes because coyotes aren't. I feel like if they can catch a hen, like a live hen, that's where a coyote can do its damage. Like, it's not actively like foraging the ground looking for something to eat, like a raccoon or a possum or a skunk, right? Like, it's hunting something. It's an opportunistic hunter. But I mean, I've got access to 70 acres right behind my house, and in one spring we killed, I think it was 70 raccoons.
Holy shit.
20 possums and like 5 or 6 skunks. We killed a couple coyotes, and that population skyrocketed. It's you're not going to see results instantaneously like that summer, right? Like, if you see the poults and all that stuff, like, that's cool. But that fall, when you start to see the flocks of turkeys that are, congregating in the area, that are like, oh shit. Like, you went from a flock of 60 turkeys last fall to now you've got 90, 100 plus. You're just like, oh, like it's just pretty cool to see how small that, how little effort you can put into trapping them, and how big of results that it can provide.
You think about it, when they do, I was keeping up with the guys that are hog hunting guys and helicopter hog hunts. They shoot coyotes too. And then they have the coyote contest down here. Well, there'll be days on them helicopters, they'll shoot a couple hundred coyotes off a ranch. And you think, God, that's a lot of them. And then you go back out there and it looks just like it did before. They're everywhere. And then when they do these varmint hunting contests, which are big here in January, February, and March, and they'll shoot 1,000, 1,500 coyotes over a weekend, guys. And They go out the next weekend and they do the same thing. And the next weekend, they're just, the population of the varmints is amazing.
Well, and I think that goes back to what Kyle was saying, that coyotes aren't necessarily the problem with turkeys. It's those skunks, possums, raccoons, you know, those are more detrimental because they'll wipe out an entire clutch of eggs.
Yeah, a guy that
I think a coyote, like you said, I think a coyote will go after a hen, not necessarily the egg. I'm not saying a coyote won't eat eggs, but I don't think that's what its primary focus is. And I think a lot of times pigs will stomp on nests out here.
Yeah. Pigs are terrible. They're saying like Mississippi, Arkansas, Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, those states that have hogs, like they're part of the reason that they have such a decline in turkey numbers as well, because pigs are coming through and eating them.
Yeah.
They're rooting through them and everything like that.
I had a guy message me. We talked about raccoons last year, the year before. He had 80 acres in Kansas, and they killed over 100 coons on it in a weekend. 100 coons. People just, the fur business going down the way it is, has definitely hurt that. Like Andy said, it used to take care of itself. But, you know, we got the Lucky Duck, the Predator collar. I don't know which their new one they have, and it's got a coon deal on it. And we ought to take the grandkids out one day.
Dude.
Shoot them with shotguns.
That is, I'm telling you right now, that needs to be what you guys go do like this afternoon. Like that is the most fun that you can have, especially because you can take the boys and not worry about scent. You don't have to work, like you sit down like you're you walk through the woods, you find, go back behind the shop, right? And go to the woods down there, and you walk 70, 80, 100 yards, sit down next to a tree, you put that raccoon call out 15, 20 yards in front of you and turn it on, and you just sit there and wait. And it is a blast. One of my buddies, he's the best man at my wedding, Alex, he's like, we went behind my house, and dude, like we had raccoons coming up from logs, inside of logs, out of trees, just like coming up snarling, and you're just like, whoa. And they just appear out of nowhere because you're just sitting there, and they all of a sudden they're like 10 yards above you in a tree. Yeah. And it's a lot of fun.
It's like a little bear hunt.
We've got where Reese shot his deer at would be a perfect place to do that. It's got a creek on it, goes to the river, it's got trees, it's got an old abandoned house.
You were talking about how opportunistic coyotes are. So during Snowmageddon on that last week, we shot a goose. It did it bled out, did the heart shot fall about 75 yards out. So I get out of the blind, and me and the other guy get out of the blind, and like we're picking up birds, and I look off, and maybe 100 yards to my right, there's two coyotes, and one of them is in a dead sprint going after this goose. And both of us are like running as fast as we can. We're hollering at this coyote. He did not give a shit. This is like day 2 or day 3 of him being locked up, and he's like, motherfucker, I gotta eat. So I'm getting this goose. And like we got within 50 yards of it, and it picked up the goose and took off. But I've had coyotes obviously get geese, but never one that I was actively like trying to scare away. He's like, I don't care. I need it.
That's awesome.
But we're hollering at the top of our lungs, and he didn't give a shit. He's like, I'm going. I'm sending it. And he got there. He got there before we did.
It's unique, especially that Texas. I'm sure Oklahoma is the same way. Like the landowners down there, they got it figured out. Like they're making money some way or another. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you got cows, you got row crop, you hunt, wind farm. Yeah. If you want a coyote hunt, like that was when we were down there turkey hunting, because I guide for turkeys out of Rustin's Lodge, because Three Hills runs out of Rustin's, and I called up multiple coyotes, and at one point I was gonna have the client shoot a coyote, and I came back to the lodge, and Russ was like, I'm actually kind of glad he didn't shoot that, because that probably would cause some issues, because there's guys that lease it for coyote hunting. He doesn't, but there's other guys. So I was like, no wonder why I can't call a turkey that's gobbling more than 4 times, because if they gobbled more than 4 times, it's going to get eaten, because it's calling, it's letting the coyote know where it's at. I called up 12 different coyotes in 3 hunts.
Oh shit.
And I'm just like, dude, this is insane. Granted, we had plenty of turkeys, but I didn't understand it because me being from Michigan, I didn't know that that's how things were down there. Now I know, but I'm like, we're walking out, just like kind of what you just had. Like, that coyote didn't care that you were 100 yards from him or however close you were. We were 60 yards from a coyote, set down in the middle of a wheat field, looking at these cows, and we're walking right by him up a 2-track back to the truck. And he's downwind of us, and he's just sitting there, just like a dog, just sitting there, just watching us walk by. And I'm like, dude, I mean, you are so lucky.
Yeah. I was hunting last year with my son, and I scared him off twice. He came in once, and I'm like, we're not going to, if a turkey does come in and sees this coyote, like, it's game over for us. So I got up, ran him away, like, did the whole thing. He runs off, and then we sit down a little while later, start calling again, and he came back up. And I'm like, what the hell, dude? Like, and I didn't want to shoot because then you got a gunshot, and, then you're really kind of screwing yourself with the turkey. So I was just trying to quietly shoo him away, and he came up twice. And then finally that last time, 2 or 3 times, I think I ran him off again, and then maybe one other time. But it's like, dude, you're killing me here. And it got to the point where I was guys, like, well, maybe we should just shoot them. Yeah, they're wild guys. So switching gears here, you won the big boy this year in November.
Yeah.
That's number 3 for you?
Third and final World Goose, man.
So you're done. Other than champion of champions? Other than
champion of champions. And we all like a Trevor Shanahan story, so I'll tell one here real quick. He's gonna laugh. Listen to Jeff's gonna laugh. Well, Trevor, there's people that like him, and there's, I think, a lot more that don't.
I think that's very safe.
But it's just because Trevor is going to tell you how it is.
Yeah.
Right. So I had just won, I was going into the 3rd round of World Goose. So it's finals night, Saturday. They had World Goose, and then Champion of Champions is the following contest. And he comes up, he's like, man, you have something, you have the opportunity to do something pretty special tonight. And I was like, dude, I'm trying not to think about that. Like, thanks. And he goes, oh, you're not going to beat John in the world champion or champion champions. He goes, you're going to be the first person that's ever taken second in champion of champions and back-to-back world championship. I'm like, damn it, Trevor, dude. Like, come on, bro. Like, he's like, nobody's ever taken second in, 2 consecutive champion of champions. So I was like, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But it's Trevor being Trevor, dude.
He's very blunt. He's very honest. I consider him my friend. He rips on me a little bit on social media, but he is a friend of mine, and I enjoy when he's up here. He comes to Lodge every year, and he's very enjoyable.
So we'll create a little bit of controversy here, but the 3 and done, where are you at on that rule?
Oh, I'm on that teeter-totter line, right? Like on that balance, right? Because I want to compete against Trevor again. I want to compete against Hunter again. I want to compete against Robbie and those guys. But at the same time, I'm sitting here, I'm like, man, maybe,
do I really want to?
Would I? But at the same, like, Hunter, if Hunter didn't win, or if Hunter won his 3rd and was able to still compete, I don't think there would be other guys that have had World Goose Calling champions other than like Robbie and like there'd be a couple guys mixed in, Mitch, Wade. Like, don't get me wrong, like, but there's Hunter in prime form, and Robbie in prime form. That and Mitch in prime form, like those guys, those are three-time World Goose Calling champions that are incredibly hard to beat. And I mean, that's like you go to Squad Fest or any of the contests that people know that Hunter's going to be there. Mm-hmm. People are there to watch Hunter. They want to listen to Hunter. They want to listen to Robbie, right? So I do think we'd see a rise in some viewership there, but at the same time, like, I'm also kind of reserved on it because I'm like, damn, dude, like maybe I wouldn't have won three
Right.
or one, let alone one, right? Like it's kind of one of those. Like, granted, we've gone back and forth for years and years and years. There's been contests that Robbie wins and that I win, or that Hunter wins, and then Trevor comes in and wins, and there's always been back and forth, but there's still that one contest we all prepare for hardest, and there's a lot of guys that I don't think would have been beat, and if they would have been able to continue to keep competing there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm damn sure not a caller of any means, but if you're a world champion and you're going to call and be a world champion, you ought to compete against the best people in the world. I don't understand the 3 and done deal. It'd be like in the Super Bowl. Well, Tom Brady won 3 Super Bowls. He can't quarterback no more.
I understand why they did it. It was to keep
The same guy from winning every year.
Yeah, and I mean it's just like, you know, like you said, Hunter in prime form, like a lot of the guys
but that's who I want to go against.
No, exactly.
Right?
That's who you want to go against because you're one of the best. But one of the guys like me who's just entering this, you know, you see Hunter's name, you're like, oh fuck, like this is silly.
Yes.
But
then it turns into like
I agree.
it kind of turns into this like checking the boxes deal, right? Like, oh well, you know, Trevor won 2, but he got his champion of champions, so Trevor's out. So I don't got to compete against Trevor next year, right? So that World Goose might look a little bit better. So like, there, granted, like I don't think anybody I know competes or thinks like that, because that's like the guys that I'm friends with and everything. Like they're competitors, right? But I do know that's probably a thought process in the back of some guys' heads of just like, oh well, you know, well now John Walls and Kyle are out of the game, so you know, there's an opportunity for me to win one, right? And I think that there's a good way to look at that, but also I think as from a competitor standpoint, you want to be like, if I could have gone against Prime Hunter, I would have loved to have done that. Granted, I'm probably not going to win, right? But at the same time, dude, it would have been just, in my opinion, an honor to be on that stage with him at the World Goose competing against him, right? Like, I think that's more so the outcome that you're looking at, right? Is you're competing against the greatest of all time with him and Robbie. There's a lot of pride you can take from that too.
Yeah. How did you feel going into this year? Do you feel like this was yours to win?
I wasn't like overly confident, but I was prepared. And I know in 2018 and 2019, that was the most prepared I've ever been for goose calling contests, specifically Easton. And I had I knew that if I was prepared, I could go and just kind of let it all hang out, right? And see where they fall. So I felt confident with my preparation. I think that's what ultimately leads to confidence, is preparation. And that was definitely the most prepared I've been since 2018 and 2019. Now, granted, COVID year 2020, I practiced probably 3 times as hard for that contest going into 2020, and then they canceled it.
Right.
So then it was like, well, shoot, what do you do? And then there's, you know, you're trying to recover, and then, you know, Forrest and I are on the road for however many months out of the year. So we didn't have time to practice. So there was a lot of, you know, there was one of those like, oh, I can go and pedal right on the bike, but I'm not meticulously preparing myself for this contest, the nerves, the execution from that standpoint. So long story to answer your question, I was more confident in my preparation than I had been. Now, granted, you know, you don't know what the judges want to hear or what they like. I mean, Bobby is as good as you're gonna go against. And there's 3 other guys in the top 5 that are incredibly talented. That I think, you know, there's 2 guys. One's name's Austin Sheelander. He is coming up incredibly fast. He's a very talented kid from Minnesota. I say kid, he's my age, right? But it's just one of those. Like he hasn't been around the contest calling scene for I think he's been around for like 7 or 8 years. And then another young guy named Bo Matherly. They're incredibly talented. Trevor worked with him a lot, so you hear a lot of Trevor and Bo, but Bo is a talented guy. But then you got Bobby as well that's hanging out and he's incredibly talented too. So there's a few guys up there that are going to be doing really really well, and you don't know what the judges liked at that point in the time, so you're just like, all right, well, I'm going to go and blow the best I can and see where it falls.
Yeah. So what's next now?
So I mean, other than trying not to take second in my third consecutive champions, that there's a couple contests I'd like to compete in. Last year I was, I think, a day away from going to Squad Fest. I just couldn't swing it. I ended up picking up a puppy instead from Corey Loeffler.
Nice.
So that kind of just dampened the plans. And there's a calling contest in Montana, the Flying V deal.
Uh-huh.
That one's cool. Big payout. Trevor won like 12 grand and 4 calling, 3 some stupid number that Trevor typically will go and do. Basically, he's up there. He won $5,000 from the Open Goose, and then he won the Meat Duck, I think, and then I think he took second in the Main Street because he messed up. So, but there's that contest, and then, man, just trying to help contest calling in general. Try to change the perception of it in a way that makes sense and that appeals to people. Not trying to change the game at all, but just trying to show guys that, contest calling is unique. You're doing a lot of sounds that you may not be hearing out in the field, but in the event, like what you just had an example of with the spec calling,
Mm-hmm.
You heard spec calling that you were like, okay, there's another level, and I want to be at that level, right? Yeah. And it in turn changes the experience of your hunts, and I think that's the message that I'm trying to showcase. And just help contest calling in general grow. I'm going to MC a contest this weekend in Florida, of all places.
Of all places,
Florida. So that'll be fun. I'm gonna give a goose calling seminar or a goose hunting seminar. I don't know how many Canada geese are in northern Florida, but we're gonna do it. But it's just, what can I do to help the contest? Contest calling in general has led me down the path that I've been able to take, and so I want to help give back to it as much as it's given to me, right? So I think that's very important. I think that there's a few mentors that I was fortunate enough to learn from, that's kind of like what they would expect.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to, I'm not trying to be the next face of goose calling or anything like that. There's never going to be another Tim Grounds. There's never going to be another Scott Trinan or Kelly Powers or anything like that. But hey, if I can continue to be a branch off their trunks,
Mm-hmm.
right, and help, I think that's what's important. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do.
Well, let me tell you that I've hunted with you. I've hunted with Forrest. There are no two better guys that are out there for guys to mentor their game after than you two. And like I said, I've hunted with a lot of people. You guys are always professional. You guys are always, you go above and beyond. Anytime anybody's has a question, I've seen you guys at hunting shows, Squad Fest. You guys go above and beyond to help everybody and anybody that comes up to you with a question. So
I appreciate that.
I think if there's two people that could do it, it would be, definitely you. Forrest is great, but just the way that you treat people, it stands out in my mind.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and that's just, how we learned, right? Like Forrest has a whole nother side of mentors that I wish I had. Right. So he's able to go and talk about Mike Keller and talk more about Tim Grounds. Tim Grounds influenced me, but I didn't have the relationship with Tim that he did. Right. And that's a special, and their relationship in general is incredibly special. But like I was able to work under Fred Zink and Field and Kelly and those guys. So it's kind of, great. And it all leads back to, Tim Grounds was that oak tree of goose calling and contest calling. And, Kelly is a branch of that. So it's just kind of continuing in that direction. But
well, I mean, it just makes sense too. Like nobody would be where they are today if somebody didn't take out the time to show them the way.
Right.
You might stumble and get there on your own, but like odds are somebody took time out and helped you.
Right. And that's kind of like the days of the times are changing, right? Like shows and everything like that. Like, I mean, the best show that I've been to in years was Squad Fest and NWTF.
Right.
Because you're able to get there, you're able to talk to these people and listen, and everybody kind of already knows everybody in general because of social media. But, there's always kind of been like a gatekeeping of sorts, in my opinion anyway, on some of these things, or maybe somebody's just not bridging the gap of social media and our opportunity to learn. So it's like, man, like how can I try to provide the same experience that I was given from a Fred Zink coming over and putting their shoulder around me and like telling me, hey, do this way, right? And do this, and do this way. So it's kind of, we have an opportunity at our fingertips to be able to provide all of that. And I feel like, some guys, it's a little different for some, some guys don't like different. It's just the matter. It's how it is. But in other ways, if there's a way, I think there's we can better our community. In turn, it will lift everyone up. I think that's more important than trying to like keep things secret or, keep it like, granted, like, yeah, I would love to go duck hunt against a guy on public ground that probably can't run a duck call very good and probably doesn't know how to put out a decoy spread. But at the same time, like, man, it's still one of those, like, if they came up to me at a show, I'm not going to say, oh, I would rather just not tell you so I can go and call these ducks off of you. Right. Like that's just my thought process with everything.
Yeah. Well, dude, you're doing amazing work. Congratulations on your third win. We're going to let you get out of here. We've kept you an hour and a half now. Keep doing what you're doing, man. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Anytime you're out here in West Texas, just let us know and
I will be down there basically all of April. So you might have me pop in. So if you guys are recording or anything like that, I'll just knock first and step in.
Yeah, that'd be great. Love to do it in person. We do a podcast in person. That'd be awesome.
Yep. Good.
Yeah, I'll bring the Dove King down.
There you go. That'd be great.
Look forward to seeing you, bud. You be safe. Bud. Take care.
See you, man.
God bless. Guys.
Congrats on number 3. All right. The great Kyle Jones, ladies and gentlemen.
Good dude. Been around.
Just got his third one. So, excuse me. That's exciting.
3 more than I'll ever have.
You never know, Jeff.
Oh, I can guarantee you.
You just might be a late bloomer.
Yeah, be very late. I'd have to learn how to blow a call. All right.
You wouldn't have any bad habits.
That's probably, I do. I've got the old duck call that I learned when I was 10.
It's been so long, you've forgotten it.
Thank y'all for listening to us. God bless you. Have a great weekend.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Or a week.
A week. Bye.
Go check out all of our great sponsors. Go check out the Looking Glass Podcast, Lucky Duck, Mossberg, Stanfield Outfitter, Cedar Run Decoys, Mitch Hall Chevrolet, Shin Gear, Dirty Duck Coffee, Ducks Unlimited, Dive Bomb Industries, Pacific Calls. Use our promo code BHB25 and Boss Shot Shells.